And perfect. You guys can see my screen, right? You got to do the requisite Zoom thing, you know. Thank you. All right, so thank you all for coming and hanging out. I'm gonna share um something I tweeted out, and then Miramar grabbed and was like, yes, teach us. So I appreciate both the Lauras. I think it was both Laura Gonzalez and Laura Pacheco, right, who grabbed this. But how to ungrade in Canvas, one of the many, many ways, but I'll talk about some of that. So I figured if I just showed you how to do that, it'll take me like 3 minutes. So I'm going to do that, but I'm gonna make you sit a little bit longer. In that, I'm going to chat a little bit about why I moved away from this, and the other things I've tried before coming to this conclusion. Some of the decisions you should be making before you jump into this using this particular grade scheme as a way to ungrade, and then giving us the actual how to do this. So in terms of my switch, these are all screenshots from like an old course of mine. I went in, I just found a course from, I think actually just spring of 2022, and looked at one of my assignments, and this is alphabetical. You can see all these students who it's a 20-point assignment. As soon as they got their points, they just stopped. And my classes, I've always done where students can revise and resubmit as many times as necessary to show that they have that understanding, to get to that full points of 20 out of 20. And I spend a lot of time giving feedback on a rubric, which is that second screenshot, and telling them, please turn it in here, resubmit. If you need more help, reply, let me know. And when I went back in to find the screenshot from the rubric and my little like nudge to keep going, I actually realized all of those students who didn't have a 20, the 12.5, the 14, the 16.5, they submitted once, never gave me a resubmission. So all of that time I spent grading and giving them feedback was for nothing. And I know that they were all capable of getting to that 20 out of 20. So I was like, I got to move away from that. And then of course I needed a third picture. So I just went in and grabbed, this is my equity cap data for my Math 119 from back then too. So I really wanted students to make use of my feedback and show their improvement. So some of the things that I did in the meantime, more in cohorts that were for professional learning, we did some things that were 0 point. Refresh was one of our cohorts for most. We use 0 point with an incomplete complete marker. That doesn't work for me because I still do kind of use points behind the scenes in my class. So I was just using incomplete complete. Issues with this, I love a module requirement. If you're not already using them, I will show them to you as well. But that way a student can see exactly what they haven't finished in a module. They have like two places, the grades and the modules, to actually go and figure out what they need to do. But if you use the 0 points, what we found in Refresh is you have no way to make those module requirements so that a participant or a student knows that they gotten incomplete. Like they just don't know that. You can't get that to happen in the modules. As somebody who does a lot of external things like in-person quizzes or activities in other platforms, when you want to manually enter grades, if it's 0, 1, it's easy to enter. But if you're using incomplete, complete, there's a drop down, and it's just anything that adds time to the grading process, I am not about. So it was another good thing. And then a biggest thing for me was it's only 2 levels. I had a lot of drops this semester in my online stats class. And I think part of it was students figuring out now what online really means, that it is actual work when a person who knows how to teach online is teaching online. But I think some of it also was that just getting an incomplete was almost too much of a hand slap. It was too scary for some of them at the beginning of the semester to be getting incompletes. And so I wanted something that was somewhere in the middle of saying like, hey, you're moving towards your goal. You did not do anything. So that's where we came in with the scale I'm about to show you. So when you're doing this, some things to consider. You really want to think about that grading scheme. So how many levels are you going to use? I settled on a 3 level, which is like you didn't show me anything, which is usually you didn't submit something, but very occasionally, a student was just so far off the mark on something. That middle one, and then the meet standards. Some people really like a 4th for that exceeds standards. Some people really like 2. So just that's the sort of philosophical decision for you. Also, what language is going to go along with all of those things? What is that going to look like for you in terms of letting students know that they've accomplished whatever that level is? Also thinking about what type of assignments you're going to use this for. For me, I've redesigned my whole course to be this sort of standards based. So every assignment in most of my courses is just on this grading scale. And I have other courses where I still give a traditional test. And a traditional test doesn't make sense for me to have a 3-point scale for. So sort of paying attention to what that overall is going to look like. And maybe it's just on your discussion boards or just on some assignment that you know that they're going to be able to revise and resubmit, because this is your way to get them to come back. And then lastly, I'm going to show you one thing I didn't know when I first started this. And you really have to think about what your overall course grade is. If you're using the grade total at all in Canvas, I'm going to show you how I do it. But if you don't, there's actually an easier method. I'm going to show you 2 ways. If you don't use the course grade at all in Canvas, hide that, and I'll give you an easier way to handle this. But if you do, then I'll show you my method of dealing with it. So here's my grading scale. I have it set up. This is for my class where everything is 2 points. So the only way they get success is they get the 2 points. 1 point is almost, 0 points is not yet. You do have to set it up based on a percentage. So that can be good. In my stats class, I have assignments that are worth 1, 2, and 3 points. So that is adjusted slightly, where I think I have it like 90 to 100 is the complete, and then anything not a 0 is almost. Just have to think about what percent it's going to be in terms of the points for each of your assignments, and what you want those cutoffs to be. If you're using points in Canvas, it's still going to call it a point though. So if you put in a 9 out of 10, it gives it a success. It's still a 90% going into that grade total. So trying to keep that in mind as you're designing this. I think it is worth noting, Spencer, who I got this lovely hack from, he does not use emojis. Emojis can have trouble with screen readers. They can be annoying. I just can't imagine a screen reader would ever be good on the Canvas grade page anyways. So for me, I like the emojis because they give me like a vibe check. Like I can look at my grade list, and it's so much more easy than seeing 1s and 2s and trying to figure out how people are doing. If it's a sea of red, I know I need to like go talk to people about what is going on, go say something to my students about a particular assignment or give them some feedback. If you do want to use emojis, mine work across all platforms, the green check, the red X, and the yellow dot. But using something like Emojipedia allows you to see how something will be displayed across platforms. So you can make sure that it's not going to come across as a broken emoji. Unless, of course, you're on my computer in my office at Mesa, which doesn't support anything because it's on like Windows Vista or something, but that's a separate issue. So, and again, you need to think about that hiding or not hiding grades, that overall, because my 2 methods will definitely depend on what you're doing with your grade total. I'm going to assume that you use your grades in Canvas for some reason, and I'm going to go with my method, and then I'll tell you how to make it. If you're fully ungraded, great. I'll show you that too. So let's show how to do this. Like I said, 3 minutes, maybe. I talk fast. So creating the grading scheme. Let's go ahead and do this, right? If you're interested, you cannot break anything in your course. I promise you, you will not break anything. You can go into a course you've already used. You can go into an old course. It doesn't matter. So open a course. Go to your Canvas dashboard and open a course. All right, I'm going to give you time. I'm going to pretend I'm doing it. It's making me log in now. I'm scared of all my things I had open. All right, Maggie gave me a check mark. Look at that. Maggie, sorry. Yes. It's like some Zoom skills there. All right, so if you're into a course, the easiest thing is to just add grading underscore standards to the end of that course, and to the end of the URL. This will allow you to make all these changes without implementing an entire course grading scheme, which is, and I'll tell you the problem with that in a second. But so if you just add that to the end, so if I'm in my Canvas crawl course and I type in grading underscore standards, it should take you to this grading schemes page. So let me know if we need to try to figure out what I did next. Aha, cool. So awesome, I got some thumbs ups. So the other method, I'll just show it to you for a second. Don't follow along with this one, but I will, since we're recording it, it'll be here. You have the instructions anyways, because I'm giving you everything. The other method to get to this grading scheme area, which I found the URL this way, was to go into my settings for my course. So like in this crawl, going into my settings, very slow internet, telling it to enable a course grading scheme, then choosing set grading scheme. The problem with this, because I did this first, because that's what Spencer's how-to said to do, is that this actually puts your course total, the grade that your student sees in Canvas as their grade in the course, based on what you put here. So all of my students just had yellow dots for their grades in Canvas, and I actually used the grade total. So I was like, oh no, undo. How do I fix it? So that was a thing. But if you do this, you can go ahead and click Manage Grading Schemes. It takes you to that same little just quick URL that I had you go to. But then you have this thing enabled that you have to unenable. So from here, boom, we are going to go ahead and manage grading schemes. We're going to go ahead and add one. So we're just going to click add grading scheme. You see, I have nothing in here. And the default has so many levels because as we know, grades are so accurate that we can assess students at this many levels of understanding. But anyways, so call it whatever you want. You can give it a name, ungrading scheme. And then delete a bunch of these things until you're down to the number of levels you want. So maybe I'll just play with 4 levels. And then you get to name them whatever the heck you want. So maybe you are an exceed standards type person and I want to put an emoji in because I'm just extra about life. And so maybe the sparkles. If you do Windows key period on a PC, you can get this. I could have my exceeds standards. And then I could have my, you met it. I could have my in progress. Now you get to see, it's like looking deep into my soul to see what my most commonly used emojis are. And then my, maybe, I don't have my X. Apparently don't use my X enough. Oops, not yet. So whatever your wording is. And then you can set your scales. So maybe I only want 100% to be exceed standards. But met could be anything from 99 to, let's say, 70, right? I just want to be like, yeah, that's a passing grade. And then in progress will be everything from 70 to 1%. And then only zeros are like, you didn't do it yet. So you can type in whatever you want and press save. So I'll give you a moment to try that on your own. I know that was a lot, but add grading scheme and make some mistakes. Like I said, this isn't going anywhere. Nothing is going to happen to this. It just lives in your Canvas shell where no one will ever see it. So here, and I'll stop sharing for a second just so it's easier. that COA. The outcome skills.
I have a question, Kelly.
Yes.
Whoops. Do you guys hear that? Oh, there's something in my ear that maybe is anyone else hearing something funky?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Interesting. That's okay. It's really hard to concentrate with that noise. Um, so I was going to ask, Emojipedia, is that an integrated app with Canvas or?
No, it's just like a separate website where you can at least see all the emojis like and how they look on every platform before you use them. Because like I've gotten
Okay.
extra sometimes with my emoji usage and then found out that like it does not support it. My students are all on Macs and the unicorn doesn't work.
Right.
I had like a ridiculous assignment where it went I had a donkey that turned into a unicorn. I thought it was very clever.
Very.
But none of them could see the unicorn, so they just thought they were getting a problem wrong. And I was like, no. So yeah,
Okay.
it's just a separate one. And there's a bunch of those too that like out there. Emojipedia is just the one I tend to go to, and I'm like, let me make sure this is not gonna get me in trouble. So are we ready to move on and see how to actually? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead. I'll come back to my. So we all have a grading scheme to mess with now. And so what you want to do at this point is find an assignment. And so hopefully it's an older course. If it's not, you can change it back in 1 second. Like your students would have to be on their grade page on that moment to see what you did. So I'm going to take and I'm going to find an assignment. So I'm going to look at this assignment that's worth points and I'm going to edit it. And so this is all in this things I'll show you, blah, 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 blah. I'll go back to this. We'll come back to this. We're going to change the display grade to letter grade. Since we didn't make this the course overall scheme, we're going to have to do a little bit more work. So I'll give you a moment to find an assignment and then I'll talk again, but find something that you're going to go change. All right. And then when you're there, thank you. We're just going to change the display grade to letter grade. Now, if you went back to your course page right now, like into your grade book, you would find everything is turned into that horrible A plus, A minus, the standard grading that Canvas puts in there. So we're going to change that. We're going to click view grading scheme and you'll see that's what it was going to show your students was a bunch of letter grades. And we're just going to choose select another scheme. And then you can select the one you just made and say use that and done. Now you don't have to do that step if you make this your course grading scheme. But then your students are all going to see their overall course grade as just a check mark, a yellow dot, and an X. So if you use the course total for anything in your course, you're going to have to do this extra step every time, which is what I do. It's not terrible. But if you don't use grades at all, if you have a contract base or you do something else, you could just put your overall course grade as that course grading scheme, and all you have to do is toggle it to letter grade, and it would be perfect. Yeah, Liza.
Yeah, could you say that part again? So if I understand the part about contract grading, but say that currently we have letter grades that we have to give our students. So how will this impact
So
their overall grade?
their overall grade is still something you decide, right? So you might have a contract like Jason Kalchuk has a beautiful contract, right, for his students where it's as long as they do so many small things, like a certain number of big things, they get their A or their B. Like they have a little checklist that they go through. So he would not need the letter grade in Canvas, right? The letter grade in Canvas doesn't mean anything in Jason's course because Jason's course is, did you get all the checks to get to your A? And that's lovely. I find my students struggle already to know how they're doing in a course, even with the grade right there in Canvas. So I still use points. So the points mean something in my grade book and they mean what you have in the course. Now a true like ungrading, a lot of people will just have a discussion at the end of the semester, right? You turn in your portfolio, let's have a meeting, let's discuss what you've earned and what the evidence is for you thinking you earning a B or an A or a C. And so in those settings, what you would do is you would just hide your totals and you could leave that course grading scheme checked. And that would mean you don't have to do this like click over because your course grading scheme would be your ungrading thing. So anytime you clicked letter grade, it would do that. What happened to me was in that in my settings when I toggled on the course grading scheme in mine so that I could say, I don't want to use this. I want to use mine. I want to use my beautiful grading standard. It made my totals just that grading standard. So like my total had a meaning, but now it had lost the meaning. And so that was my problem. The nice thing is that you could have multiple grading schemes, right? You could, for something you had, right, you could have like 4 levels for discussions and 3 levels for assignments or something like that if you wanted to. It's just that every time you're in these assignments, you're going to have to go select and choose the one you wanted for each thing.
So there's still points attached to this assignment.
Yes.
Okay.
Those points may or may not have meaning depending on your course.
Got it. Okay.
Like,
thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I have assignments that they have points that the points don't mean anything. They just go into a grade category that's like, this is nothing. Stop looking at it. But they at least let students know that they got the check mark in a module. The reason I like the points is because I cannot mark things complete in a module unless I have points associated with them, which means so it's like this weird convoluted, like, I like this, I don't like that, and this is the only way to make things work. But so once we finish that, it's now letter grade. We could save it. Now, if I go to the grade book for this, that was this Moneyballs activity. I'll just refresh it. These are not students. These are all faculty members who have been dumb enough to sign up for my Canvas crawl site, which means that they get updates whenever I add things. So I'm going to mess with Katie and myself because I can. So let's say Katie did an exemplary job on this. She got a 2 out of 2. It's only worth 2 points. I'm going to type in a 2. You'll see now, as soon as I typed in the number 2, I could type in 2 just like a regular number, but it immediately changed it to my little exceed standards. And maybe I needed some work. So I'll give myself a 1 in progress. But because we set up that grading scheme a little bit funky, right? We had 70 to 99 was actually met the standard. If I put in a 1.5, now I'm a met. So if you've ever done the incomplete completes, it is a giant pain in the ass to go to each of these things and toggle complete, incomplete. And this is just, I mean, you would toggle some of them and then set default. But now I'm able to just type in 0, 1, 0, 1 as I go down the line. And this is what students see when they go into the grade. They can still hover over it and see the point total. So there are points, right? We're not completely pointless. But at least it's the first thing they see. And they're kind of like, okay, cool, I've done this. I can move on. Or, oh, I need to go do a bit more. And yes, so I said hide course totals. Talked about the unchecking. That's just a lesson I think you're going to learn at some point on accident like I did, which was like a student was like, what happened to my grade? I just have a yellow dot. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I will fix that. I'll figure out how to fix it. It took me a second. So that's pretty much it. That's all. That's the entire hack. I tend to have to go through my grade book because I'm now redoing everything this way. and I just like refresh my grade book. And if I see something is still numbers, I'm just going in and editing it and doing that quick little, let me go in. The one annoying thing is that you cannot do this on quizzes, right? Quizzes are points only. So this is the other reason I didn't like the zeros. I took a PL course with where they tried to use zeros to be like, it's ungraded, but like the quizzes that they had were worth points. And so I'm like, no, it just makes quizzes look important and everything else look unimportant. So I like to be able to like scale this so everything looks as important as I think they should be. Students think points matter a lot. So it's kind of nice to be able to be like, tell them with points how important something is. But yeah, I think that's it. I had other things that I could talk about. I love, anytime Miramar decides they want to hang out with Mesa peeps again, I do love a rubric. I love my comment libraries and my module requirements. But I think we have most of those things in our like most toolkit too. So that's pretty much it. I had a rubric example. Because now the nice thing is switching to the ungraded version, I was able to keep almost all my rubrics. I just removed points. It was like, this is amazing. And my rubrics, for the most part, I will have a lot of my feedback in the rubric. So like my standard met is here, and then not met, I will tell them what is wrong. I'll be like, oh, you have a sign. For me, it's math. It's like, oh, there's a sign error. Oh, you didn't quite. And so I'm able to give feedback by just clicking on a rubric, and I send them a video first week, second week, telling them how to access and look at a rubric, so that I am not having to write out free-form comments for every student. I'm just grading quickly and then knowing what I need to go reassess when they resubmit. And then I put module requirements in there. But see, this is where the score, at least to me, is crucial. Like having points associated so that they know, okay, I did actually finish that quiz to the right piece. I did the revisions, which I couldn't do without points, which is why the incomplete complete on a 0 didn't work for me. And then in my last second, there is stuff coming up. Our Mesa Online Success Team is doing an equitable assessment cohort. I'll go find that link real quick to throw into the chat. When we have extra space, we typically let in people from other campuses. So, you can sign up, and then worst case, oh no, the link didn't come through. Hold on. I will find this link. I forget, we can't do accessible descriptive links in Zoom. So that is that's like Tasha Frankie, who does, she actually uses forget what they're called, mastery gradebook in Canvas. So she's on a different level, a different plane than I am, where she's actually like seeing what students have done in terms of the standards, like within assignments. It's bananas. She and I are part of the design team for that. So there'll be a lot of interesting ungrading type stuff. And then Mesa's teaching tree, just Google that. It's we have like a Canvas shell with a bunch of stuff, including like if you wanted to check out that course of mine and subject yourself to way too many notifications, then you could sign up and join my course. And there's a lot of flex. If for some reason you know someone who still needs flex at this late date, I don't know who that person is, but that's there too. So that's it. That's all I have resources. I will send this to Laura too. I'll send it to all you. But if you don't want to rewatch this video and you don't remember what we did, Spencer's walkthrough it does all the same thing, except for he does the enable course grading scheme, where you'll want to uncheck that at the end so that you don't end up with that forever. And the nice thing is when you copy this over into another course, your little grading scheme will be there. Like the grading scheme comes, and I was very excited. Where is that course? My horrible course. Where is she? I can't believe you want to be part of this. This is, yeah, it's a thing. See, it's like, hey, look, this is all the things that are in my course. I think that's it. That's all I got. I will answer any questions. My kiddo is not home, so I am still free.
Kelly, I can't. It just
Sorry.
says access denied. Sorry.
What? Okay. Katie must have made it somehow fancier. I'll go find it. Can you stop the recording, Laura? Unless we want to record questions.